take one last look at Barcelona. Today, I'm heading home. Welcome home. Do I say that to you or do you say that to me? Anyway, I'm back home in the apartment. It's a mess. I left it a mess because I opened a ton of packages right before I left. But it still feels good to be home for a few days at least before I head out on the next adventure. And again, just thank you to all of you for making this last month of travel possible. It was an incredible experience and I can't wait to go out and see more and do more and catch more, including Raikou later today in tomorrow's video probably. I am actually planning on doing probably 2 live streams over the weekend. I'm gonna do one like Mass Evolutions Q&A, kind of maybe even mail time because I have some packages left here. And then I want to start my Pokemon Emerald playthrough where I'll be playing through the 3rd generation Pokemon main series games and kind of just introducing a lot of people to Gen 3. We'll talk about Gen 3 Pokemon and what you can expect from them in Pokemon Go, as well as just kind of enjoy one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. So 2 potential live streams this weekend, depending on how everything else works out. So stay tuned for that. Now, for today, for the rest of this video, just have some like news and updates to talk about. Number 1, the first ever Mewtwo EX Raids have taken place in Pokemon Go. The first one was in Japan. That one got live streamed. I'm sure a lot of you have seen footage from that by now. Reversal has talked about it, Mystic 7 has talked about it, but today I have some footage for you from the first EX Raids here in the US. So shout out to Derek Bender, who screen recorded some footage from the raid and sent it over to me. We can take a look at that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about upcoming Mewtwo EX Raids and also the Safari Zone events going on in Europe. Some new dates have been announced for those, but the tickets are already gone. They went quicker than GoFest tickets, 2 minutes. And all the tickets for the Safari Zone events were gone. So let's start with this. the Mewtwo EX Raid at Cupid Span in San Francisco. This is the one that's right near Niantic's headquarters. And again, shout out to Derek Bender for recording this and sending it over to me. He sent me a couple pictures and said there were about 25 to 30 people there actually participating in the raids, and that there were actually a lot of spectators also, as it is the first Mewtwo EX Raid, so a lot of people probably heard about it and showed up just to see what was going down. So he jumps into the lobby, shout out to a sim right there in the middle, and as he scrolls through, you can see that the lowest level person in here is actually level 23, so the level requirement isn't very high to get an EX Raid invitation. And of course, as I said in the last video, it seems like most of the people who got invited have done raids at these gyms within the last 24 to 48 hours. And of course, that's probably because Niantic wants to ensure that these people are still around, still in the area, that they weren't like travelers who were just stopping by on their way through or you know, heading somewhere else. And now one thing I also want to add quickly is that Gengar was suggested, which probably means that the Mewtwo has Hyper Beam as a charge move. Again, suggested Pokemon are generally, it takes into account the Pokemon's moves, the raid boss's moves. So good choices for counters by Derek here. Tyranitar is going to resist Hyper Beam, Scizor is going to resist Hyper Beam. And as we just go through the raid, it doesn't look any different from the raid that I participated in Yokohama at the Pokemon GO Stadium event. So not super exciting. They have 14 people in on this one, and it goes down in 100 seconds. So there it goes at exactly 200. The Mewtwo is done. With 14 people, 100 seconds to beat it. It's not an incredibly difficult Pokemon to beat. In Yokohama, we almost did it with our group of, I think there were 6 of us who tried to go in early and failed. But regular raid rewards, 20,000 XP because he has the lucky egg on. And then, pause right here, you are actually only going to get the normal amount of balls for completing a Mewtwo EX Raid. So it's not 50 Premier Balls like it was in Yokohama. And again, I wasn't really expecting anyone to get 50 Premier Balls. That was probably just a special thing for the event. So it's regular amount of balls, but remember, Mewtwo does have a 6% base catch rate, so it is a lot easier to catch than the legendary beasts and the legendary birds. And Derek actually manages to catch it here in his 4th ball. So again, not a very difficult Pokemon, getting great throws consistently and awarded curveballs. So very solid chance of catching Mewtwo. Unfortunately, the Japanese streamers who did the first EX Raid didn't catch it, which is, it kind of sucks. This Mewtwo, Derek's Mewtwo, there it is, San Francisco, 2219. It's about 80% he calculated. And he said that someone actually did catch a 100% Mewtwo at this first raid. So that's 2275 is the CP for a 100% Mewtwo. There it is. After the raid's done, you see the nice little Lugia legendary raid boss icon there. And that's about it for that first EX raid in the US. So congratulations, Derek. And again, thank you for sending that footage over. Now today, there are plenty more EX raids going on. Niantic has started rolling them out to even wider audiences. There are quite a few more in Japan, around the US. Again, remember, this is just the first wave, and I know I said it 100 times in the last video, but even so, there were still people who were upset that there were only 3 going on and that they were only in the US and Japan. But just be patient. They are still testing these things. And speaking of testing, they are continuing to tweak and adjust the times and everything. So what we saw for this first raid was the invitations went out 48 hours, 2 days ahead of time, and the raid lasted for 2 hours. There was a 2-hour time window. What we're seeing now is the raid invitations are going out 24 hours ahead of time, and the raid window is only 1 hour, which also coincides with Niantic bringing back the eggs for raids. So we see eggs for an hour, the egg hatches, and then you have the raid Pokemon for an hour. Some people are happy about it, some people are not. I think there's a happy medium here where the egg could maybe appear for 30 minutes to let people know that something's coming, and then it could hatch and the raid Pokemon could be there for an hour and a half. The argument to be made to keep the eggs is that it kind of gives you advance warning so that you can show up exactly when the raid starts rather than seeing it maybe 10, 20 minutes into its timer and showing up hoping that someone's there, but maybe the group has already done it. So I feel personally that the raid eggs make it a little bit easier to show up and find a group if you show up right when the egg hatches, but at the same time, you don't know what's going to hatch, unless it's a legendary, a tier 5 egg, in which case it's your legendary beast. For me, that means Raikou, and there's actually a couple starting very soon. So maybe after I finish recording this, I'll head out, see if I can find a group, but it's 8 a.m. right now. Is anyone out raiding at 8 a.m. on a Friday? I guess I'll find out. So again, more EX raid invitations going out, a lot more EX raids going on today. And remember, if you haven't gotten an invitation yet, it's gonna come eventually. There seem to be a lot of people concerned that they might get an invite to a raid and show up and they're the only person there. But I feel like there's a very good chance that Niantic's EX raid invitation algorithm accounts for that, and probably only is gonna put these EX raids at the most active gyms, and hopefully, if Niantic is smart about it, and this is the way that I would do it, hopefully they have some kind of information about what time of day that gym is the most active, what time of day the most players are there at the gym, which would kind of give them a good idea of when to set the raid time for. Because a lot of people are concerned that, the raid might be going on when people have work. And from the EX raid invites that are going out now, we've seen them at different times. Some are scheduled for 6 p.m., 4 p.m., 2 p.m. And I don't think that's entirely arbitrary. I'm pretty sure Niantic has some sort of data on when the best time for EX raids are at the gyms that they're sending out invites for. So again, if that's not the case, Niantic, look into it. And I know there are a lot of concerns about people not being eligible or not being able to make it to these EX raids at the scheduled time, but it's Mewtwo, right? You guys wanted legendaries to be difficult to catch. Mewtwo's easier to catch, but it might be difficult to actually get into a raid. So again, Niantic has asked for feedback. They said they're listening. They're obviously changing things already, tweaking the timers and all that. So leave comments down below with your feedback on the EX raid system. Tweet at Niantic, post on their Facebook page. They want that feedback so that they can continue to make this EX raid system accessible for as many people as possible. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Pokemon GO Safari Zone events. They've finally announced dates for the rescheduled events. Currently, there are events scheduled for the 16th of September that weren't rescheduled, but the new events are October 7th in Copenhagen and in Prague, and then October 14th in Stockholm and Amstelveen. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to make it back to Europe so quickly for any of these events. Kind of hurts my heart. I'm going to miss out on that, but Mystic 7 will be there. Obviously, Reversal will be around for, I'm sure, at least one or two of those. So definitely go check out their channels if you want to see what's going on at these Safari Zone events. Now, if you want to know, if you just want to hear from me what's going on, let's talk about it. So the official post on the Pokemon Go website says these first events are going to be taking place on September 16th, as we know. Oberhausen in Germany, I'm sure Reversal will be there. Paris, France, Mystic 7 will be there. And then in Barcelona, which of course I just missed, but they didn't have these dates announced when I booked my travel. So I have other things going on. So it's kind of similar to what we've seen from the last few events in Pokemon Go. Trainers will receive an in-game medal. Ow! God! The medal. I'm sad to be missing out on that because I have 2 exclusive medals at this point, but that's alright. Special 2-kilometer eggs, so you'll see rarer, different distances of Pokemon hatching from 2K eggs. And then, of course, lures activated at the Pokestops at each of the malls. Trainers can catch Pokemon together, including Kangaskhan, so that's the special, region exclusive, which has already been spawning in Europe, but this gives more people a chance to catch it. Sorry, Australia, I'm sure. Hopefully you'll get an event once the Australian summer starts. Fingers crossed. And then they name a couple other rare Pokemon, Chansey, Larvitar, and others. Trainers in the area may even spot Shiny Pikachu, Shiny Magikarp, and various forms of Unknown. So we'll probably see increased spawn rates for the Shiny Pokemon there, just like we saw in Yokohama. So if you're lucky like Pope Dave, you might come home with 11 Shiny Pokemon. In order to optimize the experience for all trainers attending, gym battles and raid battles will not be available at these shopping centers during the events. So no raids, unfortunately, at least just at the malls themselves, which makes sense when you have that many people there. You don't want to clog up the network with raids. So if you want to meet people, go to the malls. If you want special Pokemon, go to the malls. If you want to hang out in the team lounges, go to the malls. Attendees will also receive trainer kits for joining the day's Pokemon catching activities. Special offers in the shopping centers for Pokemon Go trainers will be available in select stores, so some promotional stuff. But outside of the malls, there is actually a few things going on. There are actually a few things going on. So first, they say trainers will soon be able to reserve free non-transferable tickets, which again, that registration closed within 2 minutes. So people are going to get their QR codes, which are required to participate in the event. But trainers will also be able to discover and catch some Pokemon found at the Safari Zone events throughout the city where the shopping center is located. They don't say specifically which ones, so it's unclear if you'll be able to get Kangaskhan or the shiny Pokemon outside of the event, but they are essentially giving people more things to do outside of the malls themselves. There will be some rare or increased spawns in each of these cities. So even if you don't get a ticket, if you don't get a QR code to actually access the event, you can still go to the mall or to the city, which I would prefer just walking around the city anyway, and you can get some of the rare Pokemon that are going to be available at the event. Again, they don't say specifically which ones, but they say, we hope everyone will get a chance to explore these amazing cities while looking for Pokemon. And I agree. If you're going to Barcelona, check out my Barcelona videos. If you're going to Amstelveen, check out my Amsterdam videos. So that's the news in Pokemon Go, and that is the first ever Raikou raid that I've actually seen on my phone screen, personally. So, I'm gonna head out. There's only 24 minutes left on it, actually. So, probably won't get to do this one, but I'm gonna try to do some Raikou raids today. Any other ones around? Ooh, there's another one hatching in 17 minutes. Perfect, because I want to go get some breakfast. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Stay tuned, live streams coming over the weekend. Again, thank you all for making my travels so incredible. Thank you to everyone that I met who was so friendly and made me feel so welcome in all of these places that I went, even in Thailand. I'm talking to you, Tuk Tuk Driver. I'll see you guys over the weekend for some live streams.